I'm just gonna be dark. Why is she dancing? What is going on?
Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to Tea Time with the Family. We are going to have a grand conversation. I'm going to give y'all a few minutes to log on to tune in before we really start having this dialogue. And before I introduce the family. All right, I'm going to give y'all a few minutes. I'm gonna give y'all another minute to join in. I'm having technical issues over here. But we have some special guests that's gonna be here today. And today we're talking about time management and triggers. But while y'all are getting here, I wanna say, hey Tim, welcome to Tea Time. Brittany.
I think I'm gonna go outside.
Okay.
That'll be. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, cool.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So again, for those of you who are just now joining in and who this is your first time joining, welcome to Tea Time with the Family. We sit here, we sip tea, we have great conversation. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce the first person, my sister, Brittany. I'm gonna let her tell you about all hats that she wears. So go ahead and tell them who you are, Brittany.
Quick. Hello, my name is Brittany Hill Morales. I'm from Michigan, and I am a marriage and family therapist and pastor, and a mother of a baby who's crying. So we'll talk about time management in a little bit.
Thanks, Brittany. The next guest that we have is my brother, Tim, and he wears plenty of hats as well. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Tim.
How y'all doing? I'm Tim Ravenel. I am married. I have 6 children. I'm a teacher here in the Killeen area. And a few other things like serving in the church or whatever the case may be. So I wear quite a few hats. I agree.
And of course, if this is your first time joining, but if it's not, the rest of the family members will just pop in when they have time because everybody has busy schedules. So when they're able to join in, they'll just pop in and then they'll introduce themselves throughout the thing. So today, again, as I mentioned, the time management and triggers are our topic. We're going to go ahead and get started on time management. So if you know anything about me, if you have followed me, you know everything is connected for me, from religion to working out, to health, to nutrition, to self-care, to everything. It is all connected. So when you want to fix your life, you can't focus on one area. So one of the biggest problems that I hear about is time management, why people are not starting their businesses, why people aren't living right, why people are so stressed out, because they just do not have the time. So let's go ahead and start off with young Tim. Tell me, how do you manage your time?
I actually have a real simplistic way of looking at time management, and I haven't always been this way. I used to struggle with time management, like so many other people. And I remember really, it was as simple as just obeying God, like seeking his face daily and just doing what he told me to do throughout the day. And it was, when I was able to do that, I was able to manage my time better and do the very thing that he desires for me to do day in and day out, if that makes sense. Like, I think a lot of times what happens is we get wrapped up in our own desires and what we want to do and how we think our lives should go. And we don't really seek the counsel of the Lord often pertaining to the matters of our life, because maybe, I don't know, for whatever reason, you know what I'm saying? But I know that helped me manage my life better, because what happened was the Lord started telling me to do things that I didn't necessarily want to do. But in doing it, I found joy and I found success in doing it. So that's one of the ways. And then also just becoming more organized. Like, my wife done got me planners and things, you know what I mean? Like, I schedule my life around the different events that I have to participate in outside of my home, or whatever the case may be. So that's been my way.
Awesome. Brittany, what are your views and how do you manage your time? Because as we see, the little baby is taking your time, all your time right now.
It's a lot of multitasking. And I think the number one thing for my household and how we manage time is we have to prioritize. We have to figure out what's actually important and what's not. And then focus on making sure I get those things done versus wasting my time on things that are not really fulfilling at the end of the day or not really important at the end of the day. And that's the two things I really had to point into. At the end of the day of doing all these different things, do I feel fulfilled? Do I feel like I was successful today? Do I feel like I was actually achieving my purpose? And sometimes I have to also pick that one thing. What's the one thing that I need to accomplish today? That's my goal. That's my purpose. So that instead of saying, oh, I have 10 things to finish today, and at the end of the day, I only got 2 things done, I feel like a failure. But if I have that one main thing as my goal, and I get all those extra things done, then those were just cherries on top.
Awesome. Awesome. So I want to go back to what Tim said, that he began to seek God's face every morning. So how was that process for you? Because I hear so many people say that they can't, get up in enough time to seek God's face, or they're rushing in the morning, or they already have to get up early to get to work, or whatever the case may be. So how can you help them manage their time so they can actually do that? What if they can't do it in the morning? What if they have to do it, at midday? Would that make a difference?
Yeah, seeking God's face make a difference no matter what. The reason why it works for me in the morning because it really does set the day off for me. It sets the tone. I was the person who had got to the point where I quit seeking the face of the Lord in the morning, and I would seek it whenever I felt like I had time. But by then it was too late. You know what I'm saying? Like my day had started already, and I didn't get the command I needed that day. I didn't get the instructions I needed that day, or whatever the case may be. So the way it works, like I said, I have 6 children, ranging from ages 19 through 3. So I feel you, Brittany. Like I feel you. Trust me. I feel your pain, your joy, all that good stuff. Whatever comes with raising children. But for me, it was something that I was exposed to early in my walk with the Lord, and it worked for me to seek His face daily. And then, like I said, I went a period of time where I did not do it, and my life was off course. Like my life was just horrible. So I don't speak for other people. Like at the end of the day, seeking the face of the Lord benefits you, whether you seek it at the beginning of the day, middle of the day, or at the end of the day. But for me, it benefits me because over the years, what I've learned is that a lot of the things that God is concerned with, or I'm concerned with, God is concerned with. And when I heed His instructions and listen to what He's telling me to do for that day, a lot of the very things I desire to see fulfilled, He'll fulfill in the process. So I hope that helps.
Got you. So Brittany, you said you multitask and prioritize. So I read an article few months back where they said they only have like 3 goals for the day, and if they get those, that's their main focus. If they get other things accomplished, then, like you said, it's cherries on top. But they said only do about, 2 to 3, 5 tops. What are your perspectives on that? Hey, Nicole. Hey, Kira. Thank y'all for joining. What are your thoughts about that? Do you think that it should be, a limit? Should it be only a few versus like 9 tasks that some people be trying to do? and does that affect you? Because I know that you said that if you don't meet your goals, then you feel like a failure.
I think it comes to being realistic in what it is you are trying to have as your goal for the day. So, for example, my goal might be to read a chapter of a book. Okay, that's one thing I can have as a goal. I could probably add on, maybe I'll call my mom as a goal for the day. Maybe I'll also add on going for a walk with the kids. Those are 3 goals I can have for that day. But if my goal is to fix the gazebo and put it up, I can't have fix the gazebo and read a book as my 2 goals for the day, because that's going to be very hard unless it's an audio book, but maybe I can make it work. So part of time management is actually sitting down and realizing which things are going to require more of your energy and which one is actually long-winded. So again, if I need the car to be fixed and I need the kids to go to soccer, taekwondo, and I still need to find time to maybe go to a church board meeting, it's going to be too much. So maybe I have to say, okay, maybe one kid is going to have to suffer today because the car needs to be fixed. So I have them drop us off at taekwondo while the car goes this way. It's just one of those things of having to make sure that you actually are realistic and realize which things can take a lot more time. Or it could be, oh, I need to cancel a board meeting today because you guys are going to talk for 2 hours about one topic. And that's not part of my time management for today. I'm right. In board meeting, there'll be one thing.
that makes plenty of sense. So, question. Going back to what Tim said about accounting for time. So I found that to be very useful. So I do my like daily schedule. So at 9 o'clock, I'm going to set some time aside for doing whatever. And I say that should take me about 3 hours. Like Brittany said, be realistic on those goals. So I would say it'll take me 3 hours to read this book. I'm gonna spend 3 hours on this book, or I'm gonna spend, 4 hours on this meeting. So to account for my day, and for me, that allowed me to know where I was wasting time at, because too many people waste time, on Facebook, on YouTube, and they're not being productive, but yet they're hollering, oh my gosh, I don't have time. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. But if they sit down and schedule their time, then they're able to, account for it. They're able to do more, get more accomplished during the day. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I agree. It's almost like when you first begin budgeting your finances, you don't realize how much money you're actually wasting. Initially, most of us say, man, if I just made more money, I'll be good. If I made more money, I'll be straight, right? And then what happens is you sit down with a financial advisor, and they show you your budget, they show you your spending habit, and you come to realize that you have a horrible spending habit. Same thing with time. It's funny because I have this little, I don't know what you would call it, but I have this little gadget on my phone that each week it shows me how much time I spend on social media. It shows you, and what happens is, luckily, over the past few months, the time has steadily decreased. And I've been able to focus on other things that are way more important to me and my family, or whatever the case may be. But typically, you don't realize it because it's a habit. It's natural. It just comes natural. You kind of grab your phone, check whatever, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or whatever. And next thing you know, you done spent the last hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, searching or checking out these social media outlets. And next thing you know, like you said, now you're on that whole vibe of, yo, I can't get nothing done. I can't start this business. I can't write this book. And it's like, well, technically you could, you just don't realize how much time you're wasting on social media.
I totally agree. You have anything you want to add, Brittany? So I want to go back and talk about balance, because we hear that word a lot, that we need to balance our lives. We need to make sure everything is balanced. But what I always say is balance is not 50-50, and it looks different every day. It could look different every week. It could look different every month. And so when I try to explain balance to people, I'm just saying, make sure that you have your things that's priority, the things that are important to you, that you make time for those things at some point in your life, during the day, during the week. It'd be like, okay, it's been a week, I haven't went out on a date with hubby. I need to make it a priority to start doing these things. So how do y'all balance things in your life?
You want Brittany to go?
Whoever got something to say.
Tim, you can go if you want to. I'm fine.
Oh, Princess, no, I always have something to say. I think it was key what you said. You said it's never like, 50-50. Sometimes it's like 80-20. I think it always gets back to that 100% though. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's 90-10. Recently, I was listening to a brother who was telling me how he balanced his marriage, his 9-to-5, in his side business. And I thought this was amazing. And I'm sharing it because it's something I'm trying to participate in right now. So I don't even got it perfected. But he was saying is he'll wake up like 2.5 to 4 hours prior to going to work, right? And work on his personal business. I think my daughter's about to come in here, y'all. Huh? Mommy need help. All right, I'm coming, okay? All right. So what happens is he'll work on his business, his personal business, for like an hour and a half while everyone is asleep. His wife is asleep, the baby's asleep, right? And then he'll prepare to go to his 9 to 5. He goes to his 9 to 5, give them his 10 hours, 8 to 10 hours per day. And then from the moment he gets home until it's time to go to sleep, he gives all of that time to his wife and his children. Does it stretch him? Does it leave him drained? Is he tired? Absolutely. But again, this is when he told me this, and I was like, wow, that's deep, bro. He was like, this is when God will literally step into your life, because the rest you need, you will find in God. Like, you just will. God will supernaturally give you energy to do the very things you need to do for your business, for your 9 to 5, and also for your family. And I'm currently working that process out right now. But that works for me. That's how I stay balanced. You know, come on, Brittany, help us out. Give us some insight, some wisdom.
Oh, balance. That's one of the things that I'm constantly learning right now, is how to have a balance and where and what and who should have the majority of my time. One of the things that I am learning to accept is I am valuable and irreplaceable to my family, and I am valuable to my job, but I'm definitely replaceable.
Facts.
So I'm replaceable for my church. I'm replaceable for all these different responsibilities. I'm replaceable even when I have to do my productions with 3ABN. Like, for all those different things, I'm replaceable. The only place where I'm irreplaceable is for my family. So I have been learning to put my foot down and say, okay, you want me to come to work from this time to this time? That's not going to work. I have children, I have responsibilities. I'll be there at this time, and this is when my day is going to start. Even for my clients, I've had to put my foot down and say, okay, I understand you want to be seen at this time, but my kids need me. So I have to take them to their doctor's appointment. We will reschedule. It's about putting my foot down with that balance of saying, these are the people that matter the most to me. My daughter is the one who's going to need me the most. She's making her little noises over here. My daughter's the one who's going to need me the most at the end of the day. She's not going to be able to find another mom, but they can be able to find another therapist. My mom is not going to be able to have another daughter, not at this stage of her life. But they can find another pastor. They can find another host. They can find another anything. But only in this particular role, where to my husband, I am his wife. To my kids, I am their mom. And to my sister, I'm her sister, her best friend. And those are the people who I need to focus all my energies with, the most of my energies with.
Right. Awesome. That's a great way to prioritize. And I like both of those ways. Let me ask the audience, do y'all have any questions on time management? Go ahead and hit us up in the comments. But I do have a comment to make. Like Tim said, that sometimes when you prioritize and have a whole lot of things on your plate, that you get tired and drained. But I believe that's where good nutrition, exercise, and self-care time, I think all that is just as important as prioritizing your main things. You are a priority because, like Brittany said, on some places you're irreplaceable. And so if you're not taking care of yourself, then how are you going to take care of those who you are irreplaceable to? How are you going to be there for your sister? How are you going to be there for your kids? How are you going to be there, for your mom or whoever needs you? You can't take care of other people and be there for other people or build business or, do that job. You can't do it if you're sick or in the hospital.
Right.
So, and then I like the other thing that you said, that you were strong enough to be able to set those boundaries, So like how were you able to do that? Is that natural for you? Or is that something that you had to learn to do? what can you give our audience to help you set those boundaries? Because for me, it was difficult. It was a whole process to learn how to be able to just say no. No, this is priority for me. No, I need to make sure that this is okay. So what advice can you give the audience on just how to say no and keep those people as priority, priority?
Well, naturally, I am a shy person. May not come off that way all the time, but naturally, I'm very shy and I have a lot of anxiety. So, my first inclination is to think that people are ready to get rid of me than to think that I'm extremely valuable and needed. So, I don't know if that helped or not, but so I had to do also a flip of realizing that I'm also very important and I'm needed. So I'm in this really weird place that I know some people might be in that weird place too, of recognizing, okay, yeah, you're not that important, but you are that important. But how I was able to look at it as, okay, it's okay for me to be able to say no. I had to recognize that I did have that fear of, if I say no, that might mean they may not want me anymore. I had to recognize that was behind my head. That was like clicking. If you say no, they're going to never come back to you. They're going to go to someone else. And if they see that other person, they might like that other person better than you do. And then you lost your money, and then you're going to be that spiraling anxiety, anxious role. I had to realize that was my reality and say, okay, you're going to start thinking this way. Don't do it. Because this is actually, I have to check the facts. This is actually what's going to happen. If they don't want to come back, somebody else will be there ready to fill the place. If they do come back, then that means you're doing good work with them. Put it all the way back. Who are you serving? If God has this particular client as your client for a season, then it's for a season. If this particular client is supposed to be in my schedule on my list for a long term, then they're going to be there long term, because it's not about me, it's about them and how God wants to use me to help them for the season. So me saying no is not going to be the end of the world to God's purpose, as long as I'm saying no to their crazy desires and I'm not saying no to God. That's the balance. Because people would want me to do more than what God is actually calling me to do. So you have to say, okay, God, are you calling me to have to be there at 7 p.m. at night for some of these? No, not. I'm not telling you to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning. If your client, there is a hospital. If your client is suicidal, they do not need to have your personal number, Brittany. They can call the hospital. There are qualified people there. Like, these are the things I have to be able to say, okay, God, you're the bigger resource than me. And it's also having to remove the heroes complex. Oh, you're so important. You're so crucial that if they don't get you, then it's the end of the world. It's not. Those are a bunch of different things to kind of come into, to kind of answer your question. The first thing is to realize my weaknesses and also realize who I'm serving.
What you got, Tim? Look like you was anxious to talk. What you got?
I mean, I'm in total agreement with what she's saying. That's great right there. I mean, again, she just like validating part of my statement about hearing God at the beginning of the day for me, so that I don't get wrapped up in my ego and my self-importance. And you know what I'm saying? Like she said, oh, if I say no, then will the will of the Father or his purpose for my life come to an end? Absolutely not. Like, it's not that deep. And I know for some people it is that deep because of, experiences, circumstances, or whatever the case may be. So I'm in total agreement with what Brittany's saying. That was good. That very good insight. So thank you, Brittany, for sharing that. That was awesome, for real.
Nope. And I agree as well. So what I tend to do sometimes is during my quiet times in the morning, when I get up and I do my meditation and my prayers, that I ask God to, one, guide me through my day. Go ahead and go through the day. Go ahead and guide me through the day. Equip me for what I'm going to need for that day. because I don't know what's, waiting for me, once I actually go through the day. So go ahead and equip me. So if I need a little patience, give me a little patience. If I need to, wear my glasses, go ahead and instruct me, put my glasses on, whatever the case may be, equip me for the day. If I need to show up to work late to avoid an accident, let me just run late for whatever the reason. Equip me for the day and go ahead and direct my path. And so, and that tends to make prioritizing and everything else a little bit easier for me during that day. But to go back to what Brittany said, self-confidence, knowing your worth, and being humble sound like those are some of the key things that even Tim said, that helps you keep those boundaries. Once you really understand that even if this person leaves, it's not the end of the day. Just as one person leaves, another person can come back and help your business or whatever the case, whatever you have going on. Because I know Tim is a rapper. So even if you lose a fan, you can get, 25,000 more fans. So you don't have to get wrapped up in pleasing everybody, because that in itself is stressful. That is a weight.
Yeah. But you know what? I also have learned that that's another level of condemnation. And watch him, because you could have, let's say you've serviced 100 people, and you can have 99 people who love your service, right? And one person who give you a negative review. And we have a tendency to focus in on that one person. 99 people told you did an absolutely amazing job, and yet you're focused on that one person. And you're going, what did I do wrong? How did I miss it? And I think that's good for constructive criticism. I'm not saying just dismiss them.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying at all. But typically what we'll do is we'll begin to condemn ourselves. Like, maybe I'm not supposed to do this. Maybe I'm not that good. Maybe God haven't called me to this. And it's like, wow, one person. One person. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's because we naturally gravitate toward negativity. You know what I'm saying? And when that stuff happens, we have a tendency to get in our flesh and move toward where that flesh wants you to go, or whatever the case may be. And I think we just can't allow that stuff to get into our hearts, because once it gets into your heart, then you'll really start believing that you're not supposed to do this or whatever the case may be. You'll abandon your mission, and maybe not for forever, but temporarily you'll abandon your mission and
you'll be out here. Place.
Right. Absolutely. You end up in the whale's mouth.
Right.
The beast of the belly.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a significant time waster too.
Exactly.
When you have that one negative person comes and says that thing to you, you start spending the rest of the day, the rest of the week, just replaying what they said, what that meant, how could I have changed it, how could I have done this, how could I have done that? And then it stops you from progressing forward. So let's say your plan for the week was to make a few phone calls and probably progress and get another job. You can't get that other job because for the entire week, you're worried about what that one person said might be applied to what this future employee might say, so you're not going to make the phone call. You suppose your child is struggling with a subject, and you're so busy focusing on what other people are saying that you can't figure out where's the good tutoring service for that. Like, it's such a time waster when we start pouring that negative energy into us. Because now my husband wants to spend time with me, but I don't want to spend time with him because I'm so worried that Sister So-and-so said my sermon was too X, Y, and Z, so I can't spend time with him. I don't want to hear the kids right now because they're complaining about who's supposed to sleep on which side of which bed, even though they have two separate beds. It goes into a serious, because you're so busy worrying about this negative person where you could have been living a productive day. Because of whatever hiccups they are going through or whatever issues they're going through, we have it on us that it's just ruining our balance, it's ruining our priorities, because that person should not have been the priority for today.
Right.
Wow. So
Right.
it sounds like when that negative people comes to you, it messes up your whole time management. You could have everything down to a science, but when you focus on that one negative person, it can throw everything off.
Definitely.
But to say, to go back to what Tim said, that you probably naturally go towards negativity. But I don't know if that's 100% true, but I do think that there is some truth in there. But I also think that it confirms some of our fears and doubts. And so we focus on that because we was already doubting ourselves. We was already afraid of doing X, Y, Z. And so we focus on that one person to validate our fears and our stuff. What are y'all thoughts about that?
Wow. I totally agree with that. And I think it ties into humility. Because when you are walking in humility, constructive criticism works for you. You're okay with that. Because you know you haven't arrived per se. But we don't have to stay there. And then when it's destructive criticism, it's almost like you're able to discern it right off the rip. You have to deal with the reality of how you're feeling. And it's funny that you asked that question, because I was thinking another thing that I do often, and a lot of people don't agree with this, but when I go before the Lord daily, I just tell him how I genuinely feel. I don't go before the Lord every day saying I'm feeling blessed and highly favored and I'm too blessed to be stressed. And no, when my anxiety's kicking up, when my depression's acting out, when things are not going the way I'm wanting them to go, I tell God this. And I'm very frank. I tell him exactly how I feel, because what has happened over the years for me is when I learned that I could go and tell God anything. I mean, we say it, but sometimes you just have to experience it. Like, yo, I remember when I told God this and that, and then this worked out. That's what my reality became. When I would not hold back, when I wasn't only trying to quote scriptures at the Lord and bring to his remembrance his word so that it may be fulfilled, but when I would just really tell him, yo, I'm hurting right now, or I need you to come through financially in this situation because I've done everything I know how, or whatever. Like, you just be so genuine. I'm really afraid of walking into this new business endeavor. I'm really afraid walking into this new career field because I don't feel qualified. Even though you say I'm qualified, I'm being honest with you, I don't feel qualified. And man, pardon me, guys, the confidence you'll walk in, because Christ will empower you, will blow your mind. Like the confidence, the insight, the wisdom that you'll walk in will literally blow your mind, because you know it's him. So I always tie it back to, keep it real with God. Be transparent with God, because he already know. He just wants you to confront how you're feeling, how you're seeing things, so that he could really deliver you from some of these thoughts and feelings and perspectives, or whatever the case may be. But most importantly, in your weakness, he'll show you just how strong he really is, like Brittany was saying. So
awesome. You got any insight, Brittany?
I had something, then it'll flee my mind, so we'll come back to it later.
So I know for me to continue on the topic that we're talking, is that I used to seek approval. Like, when I'm going through stuff, I'd be like, oh, do you like this? What do you think about this? And if they tell me that they don't like it, then I'll be like, oh my gosh, I suck and I feel like I'm a failure and all this other stuff. But I had to learn how to stop seeking approval, but to find evaluation. So find my target audience. Who is my target audience? You know, let me ask them, does this help you? Not do you like it? Is this helpful? You know, how can I make this better? How can I make this more useful for you? You know, because these are the people that I'm trying to reach. So I had to learn how to evaluate versus seek approval. And I want to let y'all know, in case y'all didn't see, that Kira said she needed this whole conversation today. So before I go on to the next topic of triggers, what else do y'all have to say? Y'all want the people to know about time management. If the audience has any more questions about time management before we move on, go ahead, Brittany.
Just thinking, when it comes to time management, it's also important to communicate with others, especially if you're married or you're living with other people, what it is exactly you need to get done and what's a priority on your list, and discuss that together. Because sometimes we may think that our spouses are on the same page as us. So for me, my priority might be to make sure that the kids eat breakfast and they're ready for the day. My husband's priority might be let him make sure that he finished fixing the car, and we're on two different wavelengths. So he's upset with me because I didn't get everything ready for him to be able to leave in time with the car. And I'm upset with him because he didn't wake up and get the kids breakfast. But if we communicate more effectively what it is that each one of us needed done that day, so I make time for him to be able to get the car fixed, and he makes time to make sure that we're working together for the meals for the children or even for ourselves. That's important. So for when it comes to time management, it's not only knowing for yourself what is your priority and what's important, it's also communicating effectively with the other partner and making a plan so that you guys are working together and not against each other.
Tim?
I'm gonna co-sign Brittany. I love what she said. No, realistically, and it's funny because we speak on time management. My daughter walked in here and said, "Mommy needs you." You know, she's 3 years old. And then my wife said, "Oh, I forgot you was on a Zoom call, right?" And I was like, "Nah, it's cool, it's whatever." But the truth of the matter is, my wife knows that at 6 o'clock today, I have to begin prepping for work for the week. So from 6 until 9:30, she has given me that time, and from that free time to really prep for work and, you know, mentally and emotionally prepare myself for what's to come this new school year. Pray for us, y'all. But as soon as I get off this call, what happens is from the time I get off the call until maybe 5:30, whatever my wife needs, then I'm going to get it done. Does that make sense? Like, I already have this. Yeah, like I already have this made up in my mind already. So it's also like just being able to not be so short-sighted. And I was sharing this with somebody recently, but being able to see beyond the moment, understanding it. Brittany said it, like, let your spouse know, let your children know, listen, I have to do this. I need to get this done. And please give me the permission or whatever, however you speak to your spouse. Give me the okay to do this without you feeling a certain type of way or feeling like I'm neglecting you and the kids or whatever the case may be. And you'll be okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I believe you'll be okay, but you know, everybody's house is different. So
I definitely agree. And to co-sign with that, because when I tell people about relationships, I don't just necessarily talk about, you know, romantic relationship, because communicating your priority also goes in the workplace. You know, what's a priority for the boss may not be what's a priority for you. And so for y'all to have that communication, even in the workplace, even with your friends and your sisters or whoever you're dealing with, you know, being able to communicate those priorities is valuable. You know, is needed to make sure that everything gets done, and it reduces the amount of conflict that you will endure. Right. But I also want to say, before we go on to the next topic, I want to say you are responsible for your time. You can take control of your time and make time for what's important for you. Prioritize, as people have said, find balance, whatever that looks like for you and your family. Set those boundaries. Work on your self-confidence. Get you a counselor, get you a life coach, talk to a teacher or a pastor or a minister. Get the help that you need so that you're able to learn how to manage your time, that you're able to build that self-confidence so that you can set those boundaries, that you're able to accomplish the things that God has put you on this earth to do. Or for those of you who don't believe in God, that you're able to accomplish the things that you want to do on this earth. And so time management, your time is on you. Stop wasting it on Facebook and doing everything else. And stop making excuses using fear and the negativity of that one person out of the 1,000 people that say, you're doing great. And stop focusing on that one person, that one negative comment that you get. It's not worth it. It messes up your whole day, as Brittany said. So let's go ahead and go on to triggers, because I don't see anything else from the audience. So triggers. Woo! This is a tough topic. This is a tough topic because it does affect every aspect of your life. And knowing what these triggers are vital. So when I say triggers, and I'm gonna let everybody else define triggers before we go forward, because again, everybody defines things differently. So for me, triggers are those things that get you out of character or make you cry or put you in a depressed place. So what are y'all's definitions of triggers?
Okay, I'll let Tim go first.
I was gonna let you go, Brittany.
And then you already unmuted.
Go ahead, Brittany. It's on you. It's on you. I promise.
So for me, when I thought about triggers, I was thinking more of the things that make you go into a coping strategy that may not be healthy, unhealthy coping strategies. That's what I heard when I thought of triggers. I even thought about maybe anxiety triggers or depression triggers. Those are the things that I was thinking of. When a certain thing happens, you start getting an anxiety attack, or certain things occur and you start feeling really depressed, or even anger triggers. I was thinking more of emotional triggers and also maladaptive behavior triggers. That's where my mindset went.
Agreed. What about you, Tim?
I automatically think about a weapon. I always think about a gun. I do. It always takes my mind to a gun. And I remember having a conversation with older gent a little over 12, 13 years ago. He was telling me, he said, once you pull that trigger, you can't grab that bullet mid-air and try to put it back in the weapon. And my temperament has always, the way my temperament is set up, I have to be very careful when it comes to the triggers in my life, or whatever the case may be. So I always look at it from a perspective of, if I allow this to get the best of me, then I'm putting myself in a position to be away from my family for a long time. Because I know who I am. I know my temperament. I know the way I can be in my flesh. So I automatically always think of, it's too late now. Once you pull the trigger, it's too late. You know what I'm saying? Like, you pull the trigger, it's too late. So I always try to think about that when it comes to, that's where my mind goes when I think of triggers. So.
Got you. That makes plenty of sense. So with my definition, and even with Brittany, I go back to say, when I was at work, I didn't realize things that would set me off. It was like people would say something to me and I would automatically catch an attitude. And then people was like, why you have a whole attitude? I was like, I don't. But it took me a while to really figure out what was going on, and that I even had triggers. Like, I didn't even think I had triggers. Well, I'm not gonna say that I didn't have triggers. I didn't think some things were triggers. Like everybody, I'm not gonna say everybody. Most people know like their big triggers. Like, you know, if they lost their mom, then moms can be triggers. Or if they're infertile, then, you know, seeing a pregnant woman, or, you know, hearing about somebody asking you, are you, when you having kids, those like that, those are bigger triggers that are people are generally very aware of. But it's some of the small triggers that set you off, you know, like that, and you don't even realize it, because it becomes an automatic response to something. So for me, in order to even realize that I had a trigger, I had to sit back and evaluate and actually listen to people tell me, was like, yeah, you got a whole attitude. Why do you always do that? And I had to really sit back and evaluate, what is it that I'm actually doing? And then what got me there? So how do y'all identify some of those smaller triggers? Do y'all even have smaller triggers, or do y'all put them all in one category?
Brittany?
Oh boy, I definitely have triggers. I think my if I was gonna go into like anger trigger, take me from 0 to 100 being lied to. Tell me a lie. I don't care if it's, you call it a baby lie, a little white lie, any level of deception. I'm upset. I don't want to talk to you anymore. If you keep on trying to tell me that your lie was okay, it was funny, it was cute, I'm ready to kind of throw hands, but I'm not going to throw hands because they have been sanctified, but I'm ready to throw hands. Like, that's definitely one of my major triggers, is being lied to and told that this is something and it's not. Deception. I don't like deception. It gets me really upset. And injustice. Injustice, like 0 to 50, maybe 75. But injustice, I don't like. And deception, that's definitely 100. He's your trigger.
What about you, Tim? What are those things that make you that will tempt you? I don't want to say make you, because we're always in control. That will tempt you to pull that trigger that you can't take back. That will release that bullet that you can't take back.
I'm gonna go with Brittany. I don't like to be lied on, and this is why. It's not because I don't think I'm perfect, but I know I'm not perfect, right? But you know me personally, Princess. I have no problem taking accountability for what I say and what I do. Like I stand behind whatever I say and whatever I do. And I don't fear no man on this earth to the point where I have to like sit there and just lie and deceive you into believing that I'm something that I'm not. I hope this don't come off rude, so please, guys, forgive me. But your opinion of me don't matter on that level. It just don't. I'm sorry, it don't. And I don't know how to say it nicer. I wish I could say it more Joel Osteen-ish, but I don't know how to say it any nicer than that. So when a person like lie on me, when I'm like, you could have just came and asked me, I would have told you the truth about that. Like straight up, I would have told you what it was. Yeah, that's a trigger for me. Again, injustice. I really don't like to see anyone mistreated. I don't want to see no one get bullied or whatever the case may be. I really don't respect bullies. I don't respect bullies. Now, I respect bullies to a certain degree because I've learned to respect everyone, no matter how much I disagree with what it is you participate in or partake. But yeah, those are a few. And don't mess with my wife and children. Oh yeah, you know, like straight up. Don't mess with my wife and children. Leave them alone. Those are triggers.
So how do y'all identify some of those small triggers? Well, some of your triggers. And of course, you know, the big ones, I hear the lying, the injustice, and even Kira from the audience said injustice for her and inefficiency. So those are probably easily identifiable. So let me tell you a story about me before I ask y'all this question. So for me, people will ask me questions like, what is this regulation, or where can I find this? And if we're doing the same job and you're asking me these questions, I would immediately catch an attitude, but I never realized that's what I would do. And so once people was like, why do you have an attitude? Why are you mad? I had to really listen to what they were saying and then examine that and get to the root of that. And what I realized was that I would take that as they were challenging me as if I didn't know what I was talking about, that I was, incompetent. And so that would trigger me. So I realized that being incompetent, not knowing, those are triggers for me. And so when you question my ability, I would be like, who are you talking to? Do you not know who I am? So I ask y'all, how do y'all identify some of your triggers? So for me, I had to just sit back and really, really evaluate and go back and figure out the root cause of the actual emotion or the behavior that I displayed. And so how do y'all identify some of your triggers? Or have you identified some of your smaller triggers?
I've definitely been able to identify my smaller triggers when it comes to, like I said, when it comes to deception. It doesn't have to be big, I was intentionally trying to swindle you out of $2 million. It is those little things of, okay, what did your, like a client comes in, your mom says you did something, what did you do? Nothing.
You're immediately ready.
I'm immediately like, you and I already know, I saw the video, your mom recorded you, little child, what did you do? I think I was talking, okay, so now you're going into a straight up lie. Like, why? And for me, it's feeling disrespected. The minute someone lies to me, I feel like they don't value who I am and don't realize that I deserve to be told the truth. So understanding that's my perspective, now I have to apply it to this little child who's coming in for behavioral issues and realize that Brittany, yes, they are lying, and yes, you don't like it, but it's not because they don't respect you. I had a conversation with one of my kids, like, why didn't you tell me what was going on? I didn't want to disappoint you. Even though I really, really still do not, I detest the deception. I'm like, okay, well, this is why I'm here. I think of it as I have to transfer my mind and change it up and say, okay, you need to educate them and let them know who you are, as in, I am here to help you. So when you come in, you tell me what's going on, because I'm not going to feel disappointed in you. It's going to make me want to be there for you even more. So it's like taking that moment and putting myself in that back seat and realizing, okay, even though you feel every time someone lies, it's supposed to be about a disrespect, it's not, that's not the reality of life. Everything is not about you. It's almost trying to, saying, okay, be humble, sit down. Everything. They're not automatically lying because they're trying to deceive you or because they disrespect you. It's other issues.
No, and I totally agree with that, because with that same story, once I figured out what it was, I had that conversation with my coworker, and she was like, no, that's not it. That's exactly not what I was doing. I was not trying to challenge you. I really forgot I had a brain fart, like we all do, even speaking or writing is like, how do you spell the again? And she was like, people sometimes really don't know, or really just had a brain dump and forgot, and they know that so they're coming to you not to challenge you, not to do this. And I had to realize that my reality is not everybody else's reality. So that's really good, Brittany. What you got, Tim?
Man, y'all speaking my lingo. I love it. One thing I've done is I've become accountable, have accountability partners, people who I share things with, and I'll just tell them, I'm willing and ready to hear the truth, no matter how much I like it, I love it, or hate it and dislike it, whatever the case may be. But it's a key point that y'all said about humility. Like, humility will cause you to kind of take a step back and just kind of see things for what it is and what it's not. Or you know how like you ever been able to like give somebody advice and you're giving them perfect advice, right? And then you find yourself in the same situation and you can't live out the advice you gave them because it's so personal versus when you was giving them the advice, you was on the outside looking in.
Facts.
So oftentimes, like even when something crazy happens in my life now, I try not to respond too quickly because I know that I'm going to respond wrong. Right. So you just kind of step back and then you think about your experiences and even the person you were engaged or involved with. If you know anything about their life story or their experiences, you like, man, they're not going to look at life the way I look at life. They're not going to see life the way I see life. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. So what I'm big on, even when I feel disrespected or whatever the case may be, like Brittany said, say, yo, listen, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm sensing, but I could be absolutely wrong. Can we have this conversation so you can enlighten me? Because, you got some people who like, no, I do feel like I'm superior, you inferior. Well,
Right.
at least let me know that. I'm cool with you letting me know that. And then we can handle that from this
We
moment
can lay some
forward.
hands.
Yeah. Like we can handle that as well. But at the same time, it's true because there are moments when you just, like you say, kind of have a brain fart. You're like, yo, hey, Tim, what do you mean? Like, are you questioning me? Like, you don't think I'm capable of doing this? And like you said, they're like, nah, that's not my intention at all. That's not the way I saw that at all. I was really coming to you because I knew you would know. And it's like, oh, my bad. I jumped the gun. Now I'm looking a whole fool out here. For real. Like I'm looking real goofy and you don't need to. So taking that back seat and just chilling sometimes on, but also don't just let it slide. Deal with it so that thing don't get in your heart, because just because you don't say anything don't mean the bitterness or the way you feel don't get into your heart and you start conducting yourself in a manner that is not beneficial to you because you holding it in when you may be mad at somebody for something, for a misunderstanding, you know what I'm saying? So, or the lack of communication. So it goes so many ways. You got to always express yourself, always communicate. So.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, I totally agree. I preach, if y'all are my clients or if y'all my friends, y'all will know I am very big on communication. And I like what Brittany said, that she knows herself well enough that she's able to communicate it to the people. Be like, look, this is what I don't like. So what are you really trying to do? Because this is how I see it, and I don't like this. So is this what you're really doing? But taking that time to even know yourself. Go ahead, Brittany, what you got?
I was going to piggyback off what Tim was saying. When you need to check the facts, because sometimes we see a scenario, we see a situation, and we start speculating and saying that it must be this, it must be that, it must be this, it must be that. And those are not facts. So for example, someone messaged me and I told them I was going to email them back. 3 days go by, I haven't emailed them back. So my mindset already started with, okay, so I lost my opportunity to have this conversation with them. They're probably over there thinking that I'm irresponsible, I don't have no respect. They're probably already moved on to somebody else, all this different stuff. And these are speculations, they're not truths. So because I've done all of this different stuff, anxiety and depression, now I'm so anxious because I'm scared to pick up the phone and call them because it's been 3 days. And because it's been 3 days, that means they do not want to talk to me again. They said I blew my opportunity. All of this happened. That's where the anxiety comes in, the depression. Oh, I really blew my opportunity. The only fact is it's been 3 days. That's the only fact. Everything else is speculation. The only fact is it's been 3 days. So what I was telling one of my clients is, I could be over here thinking all these things, and they could be over there thinking, oh, it's been 3 days. Brittany has not did a follow back up email. Maybe she doesn't think she wants to be with us. Maybe she doesn't want to work with us. Maybe she wants to move on with somebody else. They could be over there speculating just as bad as I'm over here speculating. So it's so important to check the facts. And I teach it as a skill. Check the facts. Actually know what's the reality, because speculations can have you go spinning round and round and round and round and round.
Nope. And I totally agree with that, because even in romantic relationships, we have to check the facts. We have to pay attention to say, what are the facts and how do we feel about those facts when we're communicating? And so I was reading a book, and there was some story where on a married couple, on the credit card bill, they saw that it was so that the husband spent money on a hotel room. And this hotel is known for having promiscuous women, living there and doing their work and their jobs there. And so, and the wife saw this on their credit card bill, was like, oh, he's cheating on me. He's this, he's that, he's that, he's this, and ready to go for divorce. But the only fact is that this hotel thing is on their bill. That's it. That's the only fact. And you need to talk to the spouse to get the actual details. And to come to find out, he went to a restaurant who owns the same restaurant and the hotel. And so when they ran the bill, it came up with the hotel's name. Excuse me, because they had the same owner. So it is vital to check the facts and know the difference between the self-talks and the exaggerations and all that stuff that we tell ourselves. We all do it. I'm guilty of it all the time. But I am aware that we do that. And so I have to go back and say, okay, like Tim said, I have to go back and pause before I respond. Let me go back and check the facts. What's really going on, and then have that conversation with the other person. Get their perspective. Get an understanding. Do y'all have something to say? No? Tim's like, I always got something to say. So, my question is, if you don't work on and don't know your triggers, what are some things that can be affected? And I know for me, when I didn't know my triggers, it affected my ability to have a relationship. It affected my co-workers. So what are some effects of not understanding and dealing with your triggers? Tim?
I would say exactly what you said. I mean, it will have a negative impact on every part of your life. A lot of times what happens is sometimes, like, because people are successful in a particular career field or business endeavor, they think that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they like, oh, yo, I'm good, I'm straight, but they can't hold on to any lasting relationships. And I'm not talking just with a spouse or significant other. I'm talking about like best friends and family members. Like, they always falling out with people. Every time you turn around, and then they be using the Lord's name in vain. Like, the Lord is closing doors and shutting people out my life. And I'm like, yo, he doing this every week in your life, family? Every week? Like, you have no lasting relationships? Like, every week the Lord is shutting people up out of your life and removing people and removing toxic folks. And like, when I see that too often, I naturally incline to think this person may not be aware of their triggers. Like, they may not even be aware that to some degree they're toxic and they just don't know it. You know what I'm saying? Because there are things that my wife and I, my wife grew up in Georgia, even though she was a military brat kid, whatever y'all call it. And I grew up in New York. We have two totally different perspectives on life. Two totally different perspectives on life. So I remember I used to do certain things and my wife would be looking at me like I just murdered her family's cat. And I'd be looking at her like, why are you looking at me like that? Like, what's up? And she's like, I don't like that. And I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. But what I started understanding is that if she says she don't like it and every time you do it, you cross the boundary. And you ought to respect the fact that she's willing to tell you she don't like something and do your best to respect the fact that she don't like it and don't do it. Now do your best because it's a habit, it's something you're used to doing or whatever the case may be, but do your best not to cross that boundary. And when you cross it, don't hesitate to apologize. Don't hesitate to say, you know what, I apologize, forgive me, or whatever the case may be. Because what happens a lot of times is what I'm comfortable with, you may not be comfortable with, but I'm so comfortable doing it because we have been trained in so many ways to go, yo, everyone is going to respect me, but I don't have to respect anyone. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you're going to respect me, but I don't have to respect you. I can do whatever I want to do to you whenever I want to do it, however I want to do it, because I'm comfortable doing this. So I had to really stop long enough to go, if somebody don't like what it is you're doing, then stop doing it. You know what I mean? Like that's part of not crossing the boundaries and respecting people. Yo, if I tell you not to do it, don't do it. I would appreciate if you don't do it. But you got to hold yourself accountable to that as well in order for that standard to become your reality in life. So.
What about you, Brittany?
Definitely. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Princess.
No, I was just calling you out.
Oh, it definitely ruins. It can create a problematic relationship dynamics. I'm thinking about what Tim said about every week, God removing people. And that's not necessarily the fact. It's because you overthink it. One example, a young lady walks into the room, people are laughing, and her automatic mindset is everybody's laughing at me. Mm-hmm. That takes a toll on your mental and emotional too. To think that everybody's always talking about you, everybody has this negativity about you, that can take a toll. And then that goes into your relationships. The anxiety triggers. If I call my friend and the phone rings 3 times and they don't pick up, or if I send a text message and 2 days go by and they don't respond back, oh, well, this friend's probably tired of me. They don't love me anymore. And then we do the whole speculating thing, and it's that cycle. So it's so important to check your facts, to understand what your triggers are, and even deal with them, because then you don't progress forward in life. You don't make that phone call to get that job. You don't go out with people so that you have a good social support. You don't go in front of the church and sing that song that you know it's on your heart to sing because you're scared of that one person in the corner is going to say something, and then you have your anxiety attack. It's so important to understand your triggers and deal with them effectively so that you can have a fulfilling life. That's what happens with triggers when you don't understand and when you don't check them. You live a life that's not fulfilled, and you live a life that's not aligned with what God's plan is for you.
Wow.
You got something, Tim?
No, that was great. I was just commenting on, that was awesome.
and I want y'all to know that everybody's laughing at y'all when y'all talk about God's removing folks out their life every week.
Every week.
Every week, man. You know, and it's crazy because they like I'm telling you, they really be using God and they be like really consumed with these thoughts. Like, you know what? I knew this was going to happen because I prayed to God 2 days ago. And he told me he's about to start removing people from my life. And you'd be like, bro, stop.
It has a negative impact on your mind too, because if you think about it, okay, God, why are you removing people from my life every week? Like, what's going on? What's going on, God? What's wrong with me? God, is there something in tune with me that's just off? Like, what's wrong when you go into the tears? I'm just this awful person because God, you don't want nobody in my life.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. But how do you find that balance? Because sometimes they are being removed to say, hey, you know, pay attention. This is, you know, something you need to fix. Not that there's nothing wrong with you, but there's something that you need to fix in order to, you know, go to that certain place. And some of it is, you know, they need to be removed because they're causing harm. Like, how you even distinguish between the two?
Relationship with God.
Yes.
Self journey, and there's not going to be a perfect yes for every single thing. There are some things where later down, I'm like, God, he's like, I tried to tell you, you didn't listen to me. Okay, now I know better. It's a lot of self-awareness where you have to constantly be saying, okay, God, in this moment, you told me to meet up with this person. Was it for this reason, for this time, for this season? And then God, you told me to stay clear. Okay, like thinking back, when God told me to stay clear and I still try to interact with this person, what happened? Okay, Brittany, you need to get more in tune with him. And that goes with the time management of praying. And I wouldn't even say having that communication only in the morning. I'm in this place where I try to have the communication all day, every day, even if it's just like for a few moments. Okay, God, someone's about to walk into my office. Please, dear Lord, let me be accordance to your will. I'm so serious because you don't know what kind of person you could have coming to interact with you. So it's a serious moment of, okay, God, please let this be okay, because I need it to be okay. But yeah, when you're trying to figure out, is this person supposed to be in my life or not? It's a ton of self-awareness and having good counsel. Some people, and I'm not saying that you're in a bad place for having this mindset, but you need to do some self-reflection if you're keeping this mindset of believing it's me and Jesus alone. Jesus is part of a Trinity. Sorry if I'm going to go into some religion. Jesus is part of a Trinity. Community aspect to this. When Jesus was on the earth, it could have been him and him alone. But was it him and him alone? No, it was him, 12 disciples, and some extra followers. There's something important about community. And you can be with Jesus and have some good counsel friends who are also in connection with Jesus. That's what the disciples were. It wasn't just only John was in connection with Jesus. Peter was also walking with Jesus. The rest of them are walking with Jesus. Andrew, Matthew, Mary, they were all walking with Jesus too, but they were also in communication with each other. So you can be with Jesus and be in communication with other people who can help you figure out who is supposed to be in your life, what decisions you're supposed to be making. Is it okay for you to buy this house? Should you not buy that house? Should you take that job? You can have a conversation with other people who are walking with Jesus.
I love it. And then Kira said, pray for discernment. And then everybody else, not everybody else. And then Angel says, awesome. You better teach, Brittany.
Amen.
So go ahead, Tim.
Well, just the sister who said, because I can't see any of the comments, but as far as praying for discernment, that's a big amen, because discernment will show you not necessarily the difference between good and bad. It'll show you the difference between godly and good. Because sometimes you can have your intentions could be good, but not godly. So Amen. As far because typically, you know, you can see what's bad. You'll know what's bad. I mean, just off the rip. The devil won't try to hide his bad. The one thing I learned about the devil, he don't try to hide the bad. He hides the deception. Because bad is not deceitful. You know it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's an out, you know what I mean? When someone get murdered, no one goes, well, I think there was some good in that. No, that's bad. We know that. You know what I'm saying? But the discernment will break all that down, like, and cause you to see it through the lenses of, I know we all think this is great or good, but this isn't godly, and God isn't proud of this. And even when you think about the scripture, when the rich young ruler came to Jesus and called him a good man, the first question that he asked the rich young ruler was, why do you call me good? Jesus knew who he was, but he's saying, why do you call me good? You see what I'm saying? Because what you may discern as good may not be godly at all in the eyes of my Father. So, and I never want to misrepresent my Father. But I didn't mean to go off on that spiel. I just love that discernment piece. I see I done got lost. Come on, y'all bring me back in. That discernment, it just
right.
Yeah, the discernment just like woo.
It's important to know the difference between what is good and what is godly. And it's important to know what God has for you, because there are a lot of good options. I could have 3 schools send my kids for kindergarten. I have to start thinking about that for Sienna. And these are 3 good options, but which one is actually godly? Which one is actually going to bring her closer to God and have her in a deeper relationship with him? Which one is she going to be able to have classmates that are going to challenge her, not only mentally and emotionally, but spiritually, and make her become not only a person that's connected to God, but also a decent human being with morals and ethics and all this different stuff. So these 3 schools might be good options, but which one is actually godly and his design for her? So that's important.
Amen.
Love it.
So I know you, and then you was chiming in, Brittany, you was talking about the community. That's the beautiful part about what you brought up, because I met a lot of brothers, like Princess said earlier. I knew a lot of brothers and sisters in the faith who were Christian rappers and Christian singers or whatever the case may be. And they were big on that. Yo, it's me and God. It's me and God. It's me and God. And I would be like, but even when Jesus was on earth, it wasn't just him and God, bro. Like, and he was the savior. Like you said, it could have been him and God, yet he chose to be a part of a community who and remember, not only did he serve them, but they served him.
Mm-hmm.
Like God in himself don't need anyone, but yet he chose to allow people to serve him and meet his needs while here on earth. So it's almost like sometimes we wrestle with a God complex. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times the reason why I do believe that, and I'm going a little left, but please just hear me, feel me when I'm saying where I'm going with this. Sometimes the reason why the Christians don't win as many souls to the kingdom like they should is because we take such an arrogant approach, and we think we're being humble oftentimes, and we think we're walking in Christ, but truly it's like it's an inflated ego, you know, like, yo, my whole life I've been told I was a nobody, and now I'm somebody in Christ, but they're not really in Christ. They just say they're in Christ, but they're not really in Christ, because Christ won't even have you speaking like that. Like Christ would be like, have you thinking like, yeah, I mean, I was trash, but I'm not trash any longer, but I still don't need to make people feel bad because I used to be treated like trash. I know I'm not trash, so I'm gonna make sure no one ever feel like in my presence like they're trash. You get what I'm saying? Versus getting around people and you're like, hey, I'm so anointed and I want y'all all to know that y'all trash, y'all. Y'all are not on my level. Like, bro, that's not Christ. I don't care how much you say that's Christ. That ain't. sis, that's not Christ. That's you.
Fair.
That's your inflated ego. That's your fear and your, you know what I'm saying, your weaknesses that you won't deal with, or whatever the case may be, your character traits that you won't deal with, and some triggers. They, you know, part of that is the triggers too. So, you know, it's all a process. But I love the community because the community will straighten you up without destroying you.
Yeah.
Like a solid community will get you straight without tearing you apart, without doing it the way we were taught to do it before Christ.
Right.
You could rebuke me and still love me.
Yeah, build you up.
And that's what I love about the community portion. And me and my wife having 6 children, we talk about that all the time. Like, we're so grateful. We're so grateful for the community that we have around us as we raise these young people into this, you know, into this real world that we live in. So, amen.
Yes. So if anybody knows me, I'm real big on community. I'm real big on family, because my thought process is we're interdependent. Like, we were not created to be alone at all, period. And so that we all need each other. No one person knows everything. Me and Brittany, we almost got the same degree, but we took a lot of the same classes. But what she knows is not what I know, you know, and what I know is not what she knows. And just like, although, you know, there's different pastors and ministers in the church, they don't all know the same thing. You know, we're not all, no one person knows everything. So you need that community. You need that village, you know, to help you to get to where it is that you need to be. And my life coach, she told me this: you can go fast alone, but you can go further with a team. And so when you have that team that's giving you that knowledge, that's giving you that push, you know, that's helping you stretch or helping you relax or whatever it is that you need, and they're coming through for you, you know, you're able to go further because you're not doing everything all on your own. And so I want to ask the audience, what are some of your triggers? What are your questions about triggers? And while they're typing those up, I also want to ask you two. Some of your triggers come from things that people have not healed from, just like dealing with infertility, or, you know, dealing with adoption, or some other, you know, childhood or even adulthood trigger. How do you deal with the things that you haven't healed from that trigger you? And do you know some of the causes that may, you know, cause them to be triggers?
Counseling. Lots of counseling. I also have supportive family members and friends that when I need to process the causes to my triggers, I can call them up and speak to them and have them pray with me, pray for me. I also know my coping strategies for when my triggers are coming up, because sometimes I need a moment to kind of separate myself, whether that means I need to go for a walk, do some coloring. Don't judge my triggers. Do some dancing. I have to do some craft work, try and not kill my plants. I have to do these different things to kind of take a moment to kind of calm myself down sometimes too, so that I can be in a better place. My work with my clients also helps me grow and develop a lot. There are times where they're in this aha moment. I'm like, yes, wait, not cool, God. Where I'm thinking I'm doing something so deep to help them, and then they would make a point that's very relevant to their life. I'm like, whoa, in a moment, because that was too relevant for me too. So that's how I try and manage and handle, is that I figure out my coping strategies are, I try to utilize them. I don't want to be a hypocrite and tell them to utilize their coping strategies and I don't use mine. I have my counselor who I speak to when I need to, and who has also helped me process a lot Journaling has helped me process a lot. Poetry, another form of journaling, has helped me process a lot concerning how I'm feeling. And then reading the Bible, reading these help books to just process a lot of different things so that I can be in a better mindset. So that when these triggers happen, they become less and less triggers and just things that occur.
What about you, Tim?
Reading. Let me start off by saying and I typically don't like to say everybody needs. I don't. I hate saying that, but everyone needs Jesus, and a therapist. Like you have to. Everyone deal. So I had to learn over the years. Trauma doesn't have to automatically come from like someone passing away. Mm-hmm. Gang violence, stuff like that, like stuff that I know and I understand. I only thought like, oh, trauma can only come from this. Trauma can be you being raised in a military town and your parents PCSing from one location to another. That could be trauma for a child. Mm-hmm. I would have never thought about anything like that because I'm like, well, what's wrong with that per se? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I say that to say like everybody's experiences and just the life we live, the world we live in, I think everyone needs a therapist. And after you go see a therapist and you vent, I would say like, I'm into audio books. I don't really like reading like that, Brittany. I like to listen because I retain more information, honestly. I'm a rap artist, so I like to go to the studio and just kind of express myself. That's part of my therapy. But then also just communicate with people because and hear people. I love listening to different perspectives. Since I was a teen, I was one of those guys who would go and talk to like a homeless person, right? And my friends would be like, bro, why are you listening to a homeless person? I'm like, well, maybe he or she can tell me what to do to avoid becoming homeless. And when at that age, everyone's like, well, just work hard. But I'm like, nah, man. People don't just, I mean, I'm not saying everyone, but most people don't just end up homeless. Like it's a process. Something happened. And I would ask these homeless people, I would ask drug addicts, like, what happened? What happened? What was going on in your life that made you go this route or whatever the case may be? So I like to listen to people's experiences and hear them out because many times in my life, I was headed down a road of destruction and didn't realize it until I was listening to someone who was already living in the destruction. And they were on the same path or they had gone down the same path I was currently on. And it was like something that just was like, whoa, let me chill for a second because I could easily be in their shoes within the next few years, months, days, whatever. You don't know when destruction is going to hit you. So I love listening to people's stories and experiences and people from all walks of life. That helps me. That helps me personally.
Awesome. So for me, some of the things that I use to help me cope with my triggers, is I don't necessarily have a counselor therapist, but I call my sis sometimes. I call my village and be like, hey, this is what I got going on. Or I do have a life coach, and they help me sort out things. They help me reflect and bring some things to the surface that's deep down or hidden or that I didn't see very well. And so it's definitely good to find those people that help you. But I also found it better to take that pause before responding, even in a verbal conversation, you know. And I got on to a couple of my clients causing rift because they decided they want to respond to crazy text messages while they're still sleeping. And so, you know, when you wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and you see this message and then you just, what? And then you have this crazy response like, did you know you didn't have to respond? Like, calm down, breathe, pause before you make a response. Make sure that you have, you know, those clear thought patterns before you go forward. Mike, but they said that his biggest trigger is someone downplaying what he does and make it seem as what he do isn't important. So what kind of coping strategies or mechanisms can you suggest for him based off things that you have experienced or professional knowledge? What kind of coping mechanisms or things do you suggest? And of course, we all gonna say therapy and Jesus. What else you got?
Well, I would also say you have to be willing to look at the person that's offering the criticism or the critique. Because no matter what, no matter how successful or unsuccessful you are, people are going to talk about you. We have to remember that. Another thing is we have to take into consideration the person or the individual that we're dealing with, because there are a lot of people who, because of fear, the lack of faith, or whatever the case may be, they've never done anything significant with their life. And the truth of the matter is, they want people to be like them, miserable. So what happens is they'll see you doing your thing, and they want to get you off course. That's what they want to do. Like, their intention, their purpose, what they're successful at doing is getting people off course. So you got to, like, you know, I can't tell you don't get upset with that or whatever the case may be. But the truth of the matter is, like, when you understand that someone is not, like, their intention is to get you off course, like, that's their purpose. Sometimes you got to just eat that and understand, like, with success comes those who love you, but it also comes with those who hate you. And you have to be willing to accept that reality, because it is a reality. And I don't know, talk to Jesus about it. I mean, there's so many different things there's so many different practices you could partake in. But the truth of the matter is, like, when you understand a person, and I don't want to say like they're not on your level, but when you understand, like, they're living out their purpose, you just see it for what it is. Like, you're my enemy, and I got to deal with you accordingly, because it's your purpose to get me off course. So now I need to keep my eyes on the prize so that I fulfill what I'm supposed to fulfill here on earth. So
yeah, piggyback off of that. When someone's downplaying you, understanding what your purpose is, understanding what it is they're bringing to the table. I like to talk about emotional boundaries. When we think of boundaries, we think of only physical boundaries of, I need to maintain this physical dynamic with this person so that I don't cross a certain line. But it's also important to have emotional boundaries, where there are some people that are meant to be your emotional support, and those are the individuals you go to. There are certain people who should be your mental support, and those are the people that you go to. But there are others that you have to be able to say, excuse me, when it comes to this, I don't want your feedback from it. This is the boundary I'm creating with you. I am trying to go to a certain level. I am trying to do a certain thing. And if you're not going to be a person that gives me constructive criticism and feedback, then you need to not be the person that comes to me at all. If you want to send me a cute cat video, you can send me a cute cat video. If you want to talk about Jesus, we can go to this corner and talk about Jesus. But if when it comes to me standing up in front of the church, and let's say I'm about to sing a song, and you're going to come to me afterwards and say that my song was to this and my song was to that, And it's not constructive criticism because you have never even done any sort of musical career. Then you need to go to the side because this is the boundary that I'm creating for my emotional sanity. And it may sound mean, but there's a God that died for you because you are worth it. So you need to say that I am worth it. And I am trying my best to do everything to the best of my ability based on what he is calling me to do. And if you are not going to be a part of this based on whatever it is that's going on with you, then you need to not come to me at all. You have to stand up for yourself when people are downplaying you. I can't carry your emotional baggage in this particular situation. If it's something else that's not important to you that they're downplaying, then maybe you can help them and say, okay, let's work on this for why you feel like you need to be so negative in this aspect. But when it's something that's important to you, I can't help you with that. You're going to need to find another sister, another brother, therapist, get on your knees, whatever it is you got to do it over there. Because for this thing, it's so important to me. I need people who are really going to rally around me to support me with it. And you're not it. Emotional boundaries.
And then she drops the mic. Bingo.
Yes, and I agree with both of those. And what I will also as a reminder or suggest or whatever the case may be is back to what Brittany said. Sometimes that's not their intent. That's not what they're doing. That's just how we perceive that behavior, but that may not be the actual behavior or the thing that they're trying to do. And I also would say, check yourself. Although you may think you're doing, performing at this level, but you may not actually be performing at that level. So when they're in quotations downplaying you, that gives you the opportunity to go back and reflect on your actions, on your knowledge, on whatever it is that they're doing, to say, okay, where can I improve? Where can I learn? What can I do better? And you could use it as an evaluation instead of somebody downplaying you. You can use it as a tool to help evaluate yourself. Have that conversation. Angel says to try to make it seem like she cannot do what somebody else does because she's a woman, or God doesn't allow you to do this, or others, but God, through prayer and studying, it doesn't bother her anymore. But I have heard this a lot of times where people what they call it, gender bias, females supposed to be, in the kitchen, or they are the only ones that can be admin, or whatever the case may be. And so it's rampant even in the workplace or in church, and it's rampant in marriages because the conversations are not being had. So those who are experiencing things like this, how do y'all what do y'all suggest? How can they cope with this? What are some coping strategies they can use?
Well, I mean, that gender bias thing runs so deep, and it runs deep on both ends. I remember for a period of time when I was raising my two daughters as a single man, and I would have a lot of women, and they would say, boy, you don't know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they were trying to be harsh or mean or whatever the case may be, but you couldn't tell them that that it was very clear that I didn't know what I was doing, even though I thought I was doing a pretty good job. I wasn't perfect or whatever the case may be, but what I did was I kept pushing, right? I kept praying. I was asking the Lord, just bring someone in my life who could just help me, because I felt like I'm still a firm believer that a household needs to be balanced. It needs the father and the mother. Okay, come on. You know what I mean? The father and the mother, or whatever the case may be. But I had to keep pushing. Like, I couldn't stop raising my children because they thought I wasn't able to give 100% to my children at the time. And, and by the grace of God, I got married. And we added on to our collection. Or whatever the case may be, but you have to keep pushing, don't stop. And again,
you hear criticism for what it's worth, and just understand the people that it's coming from. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying that a person who's never been in your shoes can't offer some type of insight, because Jesus never been in the shoes of a lot of people that he ministered to, and yet he was able to effectively minister to them through the works of the Holy Spirit. We see that in scripture. So I don't want to just discount or discredit anyone, but it's one thing to hear about it, and it's another thing to walk through it. And I think a lot of times what happens is people base their insight and their wisdom. I'm sorry, y'all, my daughter's using the restroom. I'm trying to help her out. But use their wisdom and their insight in areas that they really, or attempt to use wisdom and insight in areas that they truly don't have any wisdom or insight on. What they have a tendency to do is listen to other people and go, well, my such and such said this works or that works, and I'm going, that doesn't work for everybody. So you have to know where that insight or that wisdom is coming from when you're dealing with people. And some things, like I said, you got to take it in for what it is, and some things you need to just dismiss it immediately, because they don't know what they're talking about, and it is what it is, and that's my spiel.
Facts.
I think it's 3 tests. I hope I remember my 3 tests. So tip number 1, have a book that you can write in positive self-affirmations for yourself. You can write notes to yourself about why it is you are important, or how that what you're doing is crucial for you. It could be even writing down articles that talk about how important women are in that particular field, or even writing down maybe names of certain men that, like for Tim's example, men who have raised their kids and everything worked out effectively.
having some children issues.
Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, you have the book where you can be able to write down these different things. Have a poster board, or even you can even write it on your mirror, like these positive self-words to yourself concerning what you're doing. So it could be, you are a great father. You are excellent at your job. You are doing all these positive statements. You could be able to look around and see them and have them be poured into you. You could even write a letter to yourself saying, dear princess, I wanted you to know that maybe you've been concerned about X, Y, and Z, but you are killing it for these reasons. You are doing a fantastic job. It could be, hey, call the hubby and say, hey, hubby, throughout the day, could you just send me some positive messages reminding me that I am doing good? Text your best friend and say, hey, best friend, could you just write me a quick note so I can print it out and hang it on my side of my door, and I can be able to read and say, okay, there's at least one person who I really know is good, that thinks I'm doing good. And the next thing, I think is my 3rd thing, for those who are music lovers such as myself, create a musical playlist of self-affirmation music that pours into you, so that when you're feeling, okay, maybe I can't do it, and you probably would hear, you thought I was worth saving. Like, you just get that poured into you, and you're like, yes, guys, you did think I was worth saving. And that's like the different things. And it could be, some people may have to be, it could be secular music that just pours into you and that puts you in your positive space. So you have this negativity, people trying to pour you, okay, give me a second. Let me go play my positive song. And that puts me in the better place of remembering that no matter what other people are saying, trying to put me down, trying to downplay what I'm doing, trying to say I can't do X, Y, and Z because I'm a woman, this is what God says. And those are my 3 things.
I totally agree. I don't see any more questions or comments from the crew, from the audience. So I'm going to give y'all a minute to say your last little things about triggers. Do you have anything else that you want to say about triggers, Brittany?
No, not at this time. I think that was my last.
That was your last. Hi. What about you, Tim?
I would just say, to the best of our ability, we should identify our triggers and then deal with the root of the issue. The one thing in order to be healed, you got to deal with the root of the issue. And the Holy Spirit will bring to your remembrance where that trauma began, where that root comes from. And without trying to be super deep, I would say curse that root, but also replace something there, plant a different seed. Plant the opposite seed of what was planted initially from whatever pain, trauma, fear, whatever. And then water it daily. Get among people who want to pour into you and help you become everything you're supposed to be. And it's a process. It takes time. Don't beat yourself up if you're not there in 5 days, 5 years, 10 years. Just keep working. Because the work God has started in us, he's faithful to complete it. So continue to work with God day in and day out, and you'll see the fulfillment of his life purpose for you. That's what I got.
And I totally agree. That was some of the things that I had down as well. You know, be aware of your triggers. Know what they are. You can't deal with something if you don't know it exists. You know, you can't heal something if you don't know what it is. And I love what Tim said. Get to the root of it. If you know anything about me, you know I preach that, because there's too many people out here dealing with the leaves, you know, dealing with the leaves of the situation, the symptoms, and never focus on the root of the thing. And they wonder why that stuff keep happening and happening, because you never dealt with the root. You never pulled it up. You never did whatever you had to do to destroy that root. So it keeps producing, you know, leaves and symptoms, and it's showing up in different areas of your life. So you got
and a lot of times what happens is people are cursing the leaves when they're supposed to be cursing the root. So you're cursing the leaves when you're supposed to be cursing the root. And a lot of times what happens is people say they want to be healed, but they won't acknowledge the fact that they're not currently healed. Like you want to be healed, but you have to acknowledge that something is not healed about you. So you can't buy into this concept of, no, I'm good, I'm straight, I don't need no help, I'm cool, I'm good, I'm straight, I don't need no help. But then you want to be healed. Like that don't make sense. That's not basic. That's not common sense. So you have to accept the fact that I need healing in this area and I'm currently not healed. I'm suffering. This is an illness here and I need help. I need healing. And then that's when the healing will begin. And once you acknowledge the root, then curse it and stop cursing the leaves. You know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Princess, but I had to say.
You good. Okay, Brittany's got to go. Bye, love. But I totally agree. Brittany, before you go, do you want to let the people know how to get in contact with you if they need a therapist in your area? Because I don't know if you're able to do internet, whatever.
It's brittany.ftdc@gmail.com. So brittany.ftdc@gmail.com.
And what do you specialize in?
Marriage and family therapy. So it's relationships, anxiety, depression, ADHD. There's a bunch of variety of different stuff. But yeah.
All right. Bye, girl. Thank you for joining the tea time.
No problem. She was asleep the entire time.
Oh, well, isn't she good?
Later, y'all.
Bye. Yes. And then once you deal with the root of the thing, you know, don't forget to pause before you respond. Make sure you get the facts of the situation and stop, you know, over exaggerating and looking at things only from your perspective, because your reality is not everybody else's reality. How you grew up is not how everybody else grew up. So what one thing means to you may not mean that same exact thing to someone else. So make sure you have those conversations make sure, you know, you get the facts straight. Communication. I can't say it enough. Communication is vital to survive in this world. And I know many of us didn't learn how to do it, but you need to take the time to learn. Get you a therapist, get you a life coach, get you a teacher, get somebody, you know, to help you learn how to communicate. Counseling, as they have said throughout this thing, get you a therapist, get you a counselor. They will help bring some things to the surface. If you're a Christian, get you a Christian counselor, because they focus more, they incorporate science and religion to help you get to where you need to go. So again, if you need some help, reach out to people. So before we end this, I want Tim, I know you're a rapper, got music, you're a teacher, you got specializations. Go ahead and let the people know how to get in touch with you and anything that you have to offer.
All right, amen. I am Difference Maker 7 on Instagram. My name as it appears, I don't know if they can see my name, but it's Timothy.
No. Yeah.
Oh, my bad. So it's Timothy Ravenel on Facebook, TIMOTHY, Raven, RAVENELL. Like I said, I'm an educator. I just try to offer life and be an encouragement to anybody I come across. I typically try to help the young people, but I'm starting to realize that there are a lot of old people who need just as much help and maybe more help than a lot of young people. So I don't even limit myself any longer by saying, yo, I'm just here for the young people or whatever the case may be. I'm just I want to help people as I come across. I'm part of Liberty Christian Center here in the Central Texas area. Pastor Rodney, the First Lady Gilchrist. That's my family, that's my peoples. Liberty Christian Center here in the Central Texas area. We're located in Killeen, Fort Hood, for those of you who are military oriented or military affiliated, Fort Hood area. I'm also a part of an organization that focus on the communities called Free My City. You can look us up on YouTube. You can look us up on Instagram, Facebook, type in Free My City, Killeen. The visionary is a brother by the name of Lavalis Hamilton. You could pull him up as well. Lavalis, Levallious Hamilton. Killeen native and brother who's represented for Killeen for years. And we're just here for the community. You know what I'm saying? We are a group of believers, followers of Christ, who just try to do life with people. And, you know, by the grace of God, try to get everyone we're affiliated with saved and productive in the kingdom. So that's what I got going on right now. You know what I mean? Shout out to my sister for adding me to this. I appreciate you much. I love what you're doing. This was dope. You know what I'm saying? I really do appreciate this conversation. This was dope. So.
Well, thank you for joining in. I really appreciate you for actually coming and participating, because I love your insight. I love how you think, and it's not, you know, one dimensional. Because some people have this specialty and that's all they can do, you know, but you're able to, you know, dip into different areas and, you know, be able to speak that language that people understand, you know, because everybody has a background, and some people got that street background, and you're able to speak that language, you know what I'm saying? So, and for those of you who are new, again, I am P. Gibbs. I'm a life coach. I'm here to help you through those tough times, those with your relationship, with your family, with whatever that you have going on. Communication, I got you. You got conflict issues going on at work, I got you. I'm here for you. Better you, better us. If you better yourself, you better those around you. You can always email me at info@pgibbsles.com. You could DM me. And for those of you listening, if y'all have any topics that y'all want to discuss, you can go ahead and put them in the comments, or you can DM me or email me, of course. I thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for joining in. Y'all have a wonderful Sunday. Thank you, Tim.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye.